Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. Now, as you can probably see, this employs the use of a smoke machine and also 3 studio flashes. Okay, so let's have a look at what I've got set up so far. First of all, there's the subject. Now what I've got here is a hand-carved bowl which I've put some bits of dead flowers in. They've all seen better days, but that all adds to the atmosphere of the shot. That is resting on this old tree trunk, which I've propped up just to make this surface level. Then at the back here we have a Profoto studio head. This is literally just a head. If I take the reflector off, you can see that at the front here we have a flash tube and a modelling lamp, and in the back here there's a fan, but not a lot else. This head is connected to this Profoto Pro 10 studio pack. This is 2500 dual pack, which contains all the capacitors and electronics to run the head. Okay, let me just pop this reflector back on this flash for the time being, and we'll come to the camera. So the camera has a 16 to 35mm zoom lens on it. I've set this zoom at 22mm for the time being. We'll see how that goes. As usual, the camera is tethered into Capture One software. Now, the first thing to do before I get started is just to have a look and see if we're getting any contamination from the house lights on the subject. And the way to do that is just to take a blank frame with no flash. Okay, so the settings that I have on the camera are 250th of a second for the shutter speed. This is the sync speed for this camera. And at the moment I've got the aperture set to 2.8, its widest. ISO 100 should be fine. So this is going to be worst case. So we'll just fire that. And you can see that there are the beginnings of an image there, but we're not going to be using it at 2.8. I would think a usable aperture for this sort of shot is going to be around 8. We'll see how that goes, but we'll just see what contamination we get at f8. And there's nothing to speak of there. Okay, so that little experiment tells me that I'm okay to use the flashes whenever I place them at f8 without having to worry about the contamination from the house lights. So, how is this lit? Well, it's actually lit with a combination of 3 lights. Now, the first of which I'm going to place around here somewhere. And the idea of this is that it will illuminate the front face of this log and possibly a bit of the bowl, not necessarily the contents of the bowl. Right. So in order to give that a bit of a test, I'll just need to put this flash trigger on the top of the camera. Now this also acts like a remote control, which will allow me to turn the flashes on and off and also alter the energy. So I've got this set to channel C, so I'll just turn that head on. We can check that just with a test fire, like that. There we go. This is a Profoto B1X. This is the battery-powered 500 dual unit. And at the moment I've just got that set on an arbitrary energy level 5. So we'll just take an image and see what that looks like. Okay. And you can see from that that it's not bad. It's possibly a little underexposed, but it's actually quite harsh. It's a bit harsh on the the bowl, and it's affecting the contents of the bowl a bit too much for what I want from this image. So what I'm going to do is place some diffusion material just in here between the flash head and the subject. I'll just pop this in here. This. And just pull this down like that. Now doing it this way gives quite a lot of control, because you can alter the distance between the flash head and the diffusion material, and you can also alter the distance of the diffusion material to the subject. This looks about right. We'll just see how it goes. I'll take another test. So you should be able to see the difference there. If I just go to the original, and we'll just zoom in a little, you can see that you've got quite a lot of detail coming out in here, but the detail on the flowers is possibly a bit over the top. We go to the second one, the one that we've just done. Yes, the energy has gone down slightly, partly because of the diffusion material being in the way, but the quality of the light has changed. Right, so what I actually want to do is split this so that I end up with this effect on the flowers and the previous effect, which is this one, on the bowl, because I think that will be quite good. So how am I going to achieve that? Well, actually, it's remarkably simple. All you need to do is wind this up so that the light is effectively split in two by the diffusion material. I'll show you what I mean. I'll just take this up here somewhere. This. Now at this point I'm going to turn the modelling light on this flash unit and just turn the house lights off so I can see what's going on. Okay, so without the house lights on, I can actually now see when the shadow formed by this diffusion material is affecting just the flowers in the bowl, but not affecting the bowl, which is about there somewhere, I think. Something like that. Let's just give that a bit of a test. Okay, we'll zoom back out again. Yes, that is the sort of thing that I want. So far, that seems to be working quite well. Now, this is one of the advantages of having a modelling light. You can see what's going to happen, and for setting things up like this, it's a very good idea. So this is giving us diffused illumination on the contents of the bowl, but the bowl itself and the tree trunk are getting a direct illumination from the flash. Now, because this doesn't have a reflector on it or anything else, it's acting like a point light source, so you're getting lots of texture in there, which is what I want. So far so good then. So the next thing that needs to be addressed is the light on the flowers in the bowl. Now, the way I did that was that I placed a light above it, about here somewhere, and just illuminated it straight down. Now, this is one of the advantages that you get with using a pack and head system. The heads themselves are quite small and relatively light, so it's quite easy to put them up on a stand overhead. Okay, so we'll just place this in here, like that. Just so that the head here, which does have a reflector on it, and I've set this at its maximum zoom, so it's giving me quite a narrow angle of light, and it's just going to illuminate the flowers in the bowl. So I'll just plug that into the pack. Okay, now that's set to channel B, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn on channel B, like that, but I'm actually going to turn off this flash here at the side, which was channel C, just so I can see the effect one flash at a time. It does make life quite a bit easier. And again, this is set to an arbitrary half energy on the pack. So we'll just check the exposure by firing that off. Yes, and you can see from that that it's way over, possibly 2-3 stops. So let me just take that down by 3 stops. There we go, and we'll fire that again. Yes, much better. There is a little flare in here, which is just down here, but that's easily remedied. What we can do is just use this piece of card just to flag that off. So looking through the viewfinder, I will just place that above the lens, and that should get rid of it. There we go. Now looking at the image, I think in order to get all of this in focus from front to back, what I'd like to do is just increase the aperture a little. From 8, we'll try 11. So let's just refire that. There we go, that's much better. Okay, now obviously, in order to keep the exposure the same, although that is possibly a little bright, I'm just going to take it up by half a stop. So I'll just increase the energy by half a stop, and we'll just give that another try. There we are. Okay, so as long as I remember to flag off the flare, I can get rid of this, I know that, but the exposure on here is looking okay. All right, so now I'm going to turn this back on again, and we'll do another bit of a test. And this time they will both fire, and we'll get a result. Well, okay, this is possibly a little under, but there again we have increased the aperture, so it's only to be expected. The other thing that I want to do is, in the original image, as you saw, we had lots of smoke effects and so on. So what I wanted to do is to increase the ambience a bit. So the way to do that is to put a filter on this light. So I'm using a color correction gel, which is one of these, and this will just increase the color temperature from this light. It will make it bluer, and give that another go. That's given me the effect that I wanted. If I compare that to that, you can see that it is a little bluer. It's also taken some of the energy out, so I'm going to increase the energy on that flash by about a stop. And we'll give that another go. There we are. That's better. And that's produced the effect that I wanted. Now what you will be able to see is that the far side of this bowl, this bit round here, isn't illuminated very well at all. But the way that I'm going to mitigate that is just to use a reflector in here somewhere, just to recycle some of the light from the other flash there, just onto this side and onto the bowl itself. And for that I'm going to use a mirror. So here I have a mirror on a stand, and I'm just going to place this in here somewhere. But in order to get the correct position, once again I'm going to turn the modelling light on the flash and turn the house lights out. So with the house lights out, what I can do now is just bring this into position somewhere around here. And I think you should be able to see, or possibly you can't see, just what that is doing. It's very delicate to set this up. But what I'm actually trying to do is just illuminate the bowl itself and the tree trunk and leave the flowers alone. Which I think is about there. So let's just try that. On the image that we've just captured, you can see that this is now filled in slightly. I go to the before. This is all a bit dark and we'd lost some of the detail down here. But with that mirror in place, that's come back again, which is quite good. But it's also given me a highlight on here, which I don't actually want. So I want to get rid of that highlight. Now there are various ways to do that, but one of the simplest is just to obscure the part of the mirror which is responsible for that highlight. And the way to find it is just to use a finger and just place the finger on the mirror and move it around until the shadow covers the highlight you want to get rid of. You do have to do that whilst looking through the viewfinder. So if I just go here somewhere, right, so about there. So if I then just place some tape on the mirror at that point, so, and now we'll just do another test. So that's what we had before with all this down here, and that's what we've got now. Now that was just achieved by just putting some sticky tape on the mirror. So with all that set, the next thing to do would be just to activate the light at the back, which is on channel A. So I'll just turn that on, and I'll turn off all the others. Like so this time when I trigger the camera, the only flash that will fire is the one at the back. Now that's the sort of result that I wanted, although it's quite hard to see what is going on from the image that we've just captured. Now basically what I'm using this light for at the back here is to backlight the subject, maybe a little, but mostly to backlight the smoke, which I'm going to introduce into this area here. By backlighting the smoke, it gives it much more of an effect. The important thing is that from this light's point of view, it shouldn't be able to see the camera at all. It should be obscured by the subject. So I'll just check that, and that looks okay. Well, with that set and on, next thing to do, introduce some smoke and see how we go. Now down here on the floor I have a smoke machine with the remote which goes up to the camera position. So I can introduce the smoke from the camera position. These are relatively inexpensive these days and very good to add a bit of atmosphere to your shots. Okay, so now the smoke machine has warmed up. I'll give it a bit of a blast and we'll take a few images just to see if we can set the light up. So you should be able to see from those that is working quite well. And one thing I can see is just the edge of the floor here, which I've just picked up on. Now that is a bit of an error, but it's easily remedied. I just need to put some black cloths on the floor just so that we don't get that encroaching into the image. So with those in place, I'll just check that in the viewfinder. Yeah, that looks okay. Yeah, they seem to have disappeared now. That's good. Right, so it just remains to turn on the other flashes and go for a full take. So this time all 3 flashes should fire. There we go. Now obviously you won't be able to tell what's going to happen with the smoke until we get the smoke in place. So let me just go for that again. Now smoke is a dynamic thing, so you do have to just keep going until you get the image you want. Now I still have that flare coming into the top of the camera, so I just want to mitigate that a bit. There we are, that's better. There we go. So all that remains now is to go through the images, pick the best one, go into Photoshop and do the final post-processing. So here we are in Photoshop, and I've selected 6 variants just to have a look at. So this is the first of them, and then that one, and so on. Now some would say less is more. This is quite a nice image. I quite like the lack of smoke in the back of this one. But the one I'm actually going to go for is this one. I quite like the way the smoke has come around, and I think this is quite a pleasant image. There is actually very little to do to it. If I just zoom in a little, we have a close look around the image. You can see that it is pretty good straight out of the camera. So all I'm going to do is pick a crop, 16:9, which is what I usually use, matches the video, and we'll just move it around in the image a little just to make something that's pretty good. I'll just commit to that, and there we have it. So that is how I created that image, more or less straight out of the camera, just with the use of some smoke and mirrors. Now, if you like seeing these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.